A single father helped her with groceries, but her true identity left him speechless. Marvin was not your average 37-year-old man. For starters, he had 2 kids to take care of all by himself. His wife Deborah had passed away when their youngest child, baby Charles, was just a few months old. So Marvin had raised his son and daughter, Emma and Ethan, alone. It hadn't been easy, but Marvin wouldn't trade it for the world. One Saturday afternoon, after spending the morning at the park with his kids, Marvin decided to go get some groceries for the family. The kids were getting pretty hungry, so he promised them that he would be quick. But he knew that the shopping would take longer than expected. So he called his mother for backup. "Mom, could you watch the kids for me? I need to get some stuff from the store," he said over the phone. "Sure, but why don't you bring them along? I can watch the 3 of you," she suggested. "I wish I could, but I have to get some things that aren't exactly kid-friendly. How about this? I'll be quick and then we'll go out for ice cream, okay?" Marvin asked. "Deal," his mom replied. So Marvin went to the store alone, made a list of everything they needed before heading out. Luckily, most of the things on his list were in the same aisle, so he didn't have to waste time looking all over the store. He quickly filled up his cart and headed to the checkout. As he waited in line, he pulled out his phone to check if he had enough money to pay for everything. His eyes widened in horror. He only had $128 in his account, but he was about to buy $150 worth of groceries. What was he going to do? He couldn't afford to pay for everything. Suddenly, a woman behind him cleared her throat. "Can I help you, sir?" she asked politely. "Oh, no, I'm sorry. I just realized that I don't have enough money to pay for these groceries," Marvin admitted, embarrassed. "It's okay." "Gotcha," the woman said with a warm smile. Before Marvin could even respond, she paid for his groceries and turned to leave. "Wait, but I wanted to pay you back," he called after her. "Don't worry about it, really. It's on me," she replied over her shoulder. "Thank you so much. I really appreciate it," Marvin said as he took the bags from her. He was about to thank her again when he noticed that she was struggling to carry her own groceries. "Let me help you with those bags, ma'am," he offered. She looked at him, surprised. "Oh, I'm sure." "Thank you," she said, handing him one of the bags. Marvin grabbed the other bag and walked with her until they reached her car. "I can't thank you enough for paying for my groceries." "How can I ever repay you?" he asked. "Like I said, don't worry about it," she replied, "but I insist. Maybe I could cook you dinner or something," he suggested. She considered it for a moment. "Actually, that would be nice. How does tomorrow sound?" "At 7 p.m., my treat," she replied. "That would be great." "Thank you so much," he said, relieved that he had finally come up with a way to pay her back. They exchanged numbers and said their goodbyes. Then she drove off. As Marvin headed home, he couldn't help but think about how lucky he was to have met this kind stranger. He couldn't imagine how he would have explained to his kids that he didn't have enough money to buy groceries. They had been through tough times before, but he hated having to disappoint his kids. The next day, Marvin woke up early to get everything ready for his date with the mystery woman. He wasn't sure what to cook, but he eventually settled on one of his mom's recipes, spaghetti and meatballs. He figured it was a classic that never failed to impress. He spent the entire afternoon preparing the meal. By the time his food was ready, it was almost 6 p.m. He set the table and waited. As the clock ticked by, his excitement turned to worry. Was she still coming? What if she changed her mind? He knew that these thoughts were irrational, but he couldn't help it. He heard the doorbell ring, and his heart skipped a beat. Could this be her? He raced to the door and opened it to find a bouquet of flowers sitting on his welcome mat. A note was attached to the flowers, and Marvin's heart sank when he read the message. It said, "I'm sorry I can't make it tonight, but I've come down with a fever. Please take care of yourself." Attached to the note was a check made out to him for $200. Disappointment washed over him as he read the message. He had been looking forward to meeting the woman who had helped him out, and now she was stood him up. He crumpled the note in his hand, not knowing what to do. Just then, his mom walked in and noticed the check on the table. "What's that?" she asked. "She stood me up," he replied quietly. His mom looked at him, confused. "Who did?" she asked. "The woman who helped me at the store," he said, shoving the check into his mom's hands. "What did you say?" she asked, her eyes widening in surprise. He looked at his mom, puzzled. "What's wrong?" he asked. "This check is from Eleanor Vanderbilt," she said, her voice shaking. "You know the owner of Vanderbilt Enterprises?" "Yeah, is that a problem?" he asked, feeling a sense of dread. His mom looked at him as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Eleanor Vanderbilt is your date?" she asked, her voice rising in volume. Yeah, is she? Does she know something about me?" he asked, worried that he had done something wrong. "She probably wouldn't have stood you up if she didn't," his mom replied, trying to keep her voice low. "Stand me up?" he repeated, confused. His mom took a deep breath and sat down on the couch. "Eleanor is my best friend, and she was hoping that you would help her with something," she said. "Help her with what?" he asked, feeling uneasy. "She needs a son-in-law," his mom replied, a mischievous grin spreading across her face. "What?" he exclaimed. "Don't play coy with me, Marvin. I know you like Eleanor," his mom said, chuckling. "I don't," he replied, blushing. "You do too. Just don't want to admit it," she retorted. "But what about Charles?" "Ethan and Emma will call her Grandma," he said, feeling overwhelmed. "Don't worry about it, honey. You're both grown-ups now, and I'm sure that Charles will be thrilled to have a new grandma," she replied. "But what about our jobs? How will that work?" he asked. "Eleanor has offered to buy us a house anywhere in the world," she said, winking at him. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Was this really happening? Was he really going to marry Eleanor Vanderbilt? He felt like his life was falling apart at the seams. One minute he was a single dad trying to make ends meet, and the next he was being offered a dream proposal by a multimillionaire. "I need some time to think about this," he said, feeling overwhelmed. "Of course, honey. Take all the time you need," his mom replied, understanding his shock. "I'll let Eleanor know." He thanked his mom for understanding and went to his room to try and sort out his thoughts. He couldn't believe that he was even considering this. How could he possibly leave his kids? He knew that they needed him, and he wasn't sure if he could do this. Just then his phone rang, and he saw that it was Eleanor. He hesitated for a moment, but eventually picked up the phone. "Hello," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "Hi, Marvin. I'm so sorry about standing you up last night. I really wasn't feeling well," she said, her voice soft and apologetic. "It's fine. Don't worry about it," he replied. "So, did you have something else in mind for our date tomorrow?" she asked hesitantly. "Actually, I have to cancel our date," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. There was a long silence on the other end of the line, and Marvin could hear her taking a deep breath. "Is everything okay, Marvin?" she asked, her voice trembling. "No, it's not okay." "I'm sorry," he replied, feeling guilty. "Can you tell me what's wrong?"
Pass.
she pressed. "It's just that I need some time to think about things," he stammered. "Of course, honey. No problem. Take all the time you need," she replied, her voice cracking. "Thank you," he whispered. They hung up the phone, and Marvin couldn't help but feel terrible. He knew that he had hurt her feelings, but he didn't know what to do. He didn't want to lead her on any further. As he thought about what to say to her, he remembered the look on his mom's face when she had seen the check. An idea started to form in his mind, and he quickly called his mom to get her help. He knew that this was going to be difficult, but he had to do it. He called Eleanor back and explained the situation. To his surprise, she was understanding and agreed to meet him for lunch. When they met, he apologized for leading her on and explained that he wasn't ready for a relationship. "I'm sorry, Eleanor. Just I need to focus on my kids right now," he said, his voice heavy with regret. "I understand, Marvin. I'm sorry if I made you feel pressured." "It was the last thing I wanted," she replied, her voice soft and apologetic. They talked for a while longer, and then Eleanor excused herself to use the restroom. When she came back, she had a different look on her face. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice low. He nodded, unsure of what to expect. "My mother set us up on this date," she confessed, her cheeks flushing. "What?" he exclaimed. "Yeah, I'm sorry. She probably shouldn't have done that, but I wanted to meet you because I've heard so much about you from her," she continued. "My mom told me you were a single dad," he said, feeling betrayed. "Yes, and I thought it would be nice if we could help each other out." "I need a son, and you need a live-in nanny," she explained. "How did you know that I needed a nanny?" he asked. "My mom told me," she replied. "She also told me that you were looking for someone to help you around the house," he pressed. "Well, yeah, but I didn't think you'd actually take me up on the offer," she said, her voice trailing off. "You could have just asked me directly," he replied, feeling annoyed. "I'm sorry, but I really liked you, Marvin, and I thought that maybe we could be more than friends," she confessed. "I'm sorry, Eleanor, but I'm not looking for a relationship right now," he said, his voice firm. "I understand, But I had to tell you because I didn't want you to waste your time on me, she replied. They sat in silence for a moment, and then Eleanor stood up to leave. Thank you for lunch, Marvin. I'll see you around, she said, her voice shaky. As he watched her leave, he couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. He knew that this was the right decision, but he also felt bad for leading her on. He should have been more honest from the start. On the drive home, he thought about what he was going to tell his mom. He knew that she wouldn't be happy, but he had to do what was right for him and his kids. When he got home, he found his mom waiting for him in the living room. So, how did it go? She asked, her voice hopeful. Mom, I told her that I wasn't interested, he replied, his voice defeated. His mom's face fell and she looked downcast. I'm sorry, honey. I thought you two would be perfect together, she said, her voice barely a whisper. It's okay, Mom. I know you mean well, but this is my life, and I have to do what's right for me, he said, pulling her into a hug. I know, honey. I'm sorry. I just want you to be happy, she replied, hugging him back. I know, and I appreciate that. But I can't be with Eleanor, he said, pulling away from the hug. "'Kay, but promise me you won't shut down your heart completely," his mom said, her eyes pleading. He looked into his mom's eyes and saw the disappointment and sadness in them. "I promise," he said, knowing that he had made the right decision. He hugged his mom goodbye and went to his room to get away from the tension. He knew that this was going to be a hard conversation to have with his mom. But he also knew that it was important for him to be honest with her. He loved his mom and didn't want to hurt her. But he also couldn't let her set him up on blind dates with multimillionaires without telling her how he really felt. He knew that it was important for him to be honest with her and to stand up for himself, even if it meant disappointing her. He missed his wife every day and knew that he would never forget her. But he also knew that he had to move on for the sake of his kids. He wanted to be able to give them the best possible life, and that meant being honest with himself and others about his feelings. He knew that his mom meant well and only wanted the best for him, but he also needed her to respect his decisions and feelings. He hoped that she would understand that he needed to take control of his own life and not let anyone else dictate his future.